Hello, and welcome to In the DeNovo. I'm Will Grace, founder and managing director here at DeNovo Treasury, where we empower leaders of community financial institutions entering commercial and industrial banking with expertise for their strategic investment in treasury management products and services. We prioritize the how over the what. We believe in a collaborative journey and go beyond traditional services by actively transferring treasury management expertise to our clients. Thank you for joining us and staying in the know within the DeNovo. So looking back now, almost 7 years post-launch of real-time payments. So it'll be 7 years, this November probably, that the first payment went between, what was it, Bank of New York Mellon and who was the other party? It was Bank of New York Mellon and U.S.
Bank.
U.S. Bank, right? Yeah. Yeah. So has the growth met the expectations at the time of your involvement?
I would say growth in terms of the reach, who you can actually make payments to on the network is probably about what we might have expected. I think that there were a lot of folks saying, we'll be ubiquitous overnight. That was never realistic. And even if you look at things like the history of the ACH, it takes a while to get that breadth. The one area where I don't think we have seen the growth that we all expected is in the actual number of payments. Is growing. I think the last thing I saw from the clearinghouse was growing 15% quarter on quarter, which is an impressive rate of growth. But I think there's so much potential, and I think we were looking at, it growing a little faster in terms of the usage than we were originally expecting. And I think there's a few reasons for that be happy to talk about. But that would be the one thing is I'd like to be seeing more volume going across the network.
What do you think are maybe the top two reasons why maybe that volume isn't hitting where you expected?
Well, the first thing is it's not lack of demand. When you talk to folks, folks in business, when you look at what folks say they want out of consumers want out of their financial institutions, when you look at what some of the fintechs would like to be doing, the demand is clearly there. I've seen surveys saying that large percentages, large majorities of business have plans to use instant payments over the next few years. I think where we have a gap is in the deployment of products, and it's not easy. In order for folks to actually initiate payments, they have to have products in their hands that they can use to initiate the payments. And we've seen primarily it being used by larger companies and some of the larger fintech companies, typically through APIs, through the treasury management groups of some of the banks. Not always big banks. There are some smaller and mid-sized financial institutions that are actually punching well above their weight. So it's not hard finding business, but you have to invest. And it's not just a single product. You don't just switch on, I want to send payments. The network side is not the hard part. The hard part is every single one of your products, whether it's your corporate, small business, and consumer online applications, whether it's things like your bulk payment initiation, account-to-account payments. I think typically, if you're talking about a mid-size bank or larger, you're going to be dealing with at least 12 different applications that need to be upgraded if you're going to allow your customers to send payments. And typically, that's been done one implementation at a time. It's understandable. You can't do everything at once, but that can take a while. And I think that's one of the things. We still haven't seen a lot of small businesses that have been enabled to send real-time payments, even though there is clearly demand to be able to do that, whether it's for their own P2P payments or payroll or whatever. And consumers don't have a lot of ways of doing it. Obviously, for P2P payments, they're going to be using something such as a Zelle, or maybe outside the banking networks, a Venmo or a Cash App. And those are starting to be enabled with instant payments. But things like bill payments, things like their own account-to-account movements just have not been widely deployed. I believe if we were to put the means in customers' hands, large businesses, small businesses, consumers, and start, really making them know this is something you can do, they have they have the use cases. They know what they want to do. They want to move their money faster. They want that certainty. It's just they don't necessarily have the tools that they need.
Yeah, I agree. And the financial institutions that I work with are the smaller on the spot. I tend to stay in the 8 billion and under. And
Mhm.
my clients and prospects, interestingly, even though the surveys suggest that there's a demand for this,
Mhm.
tend to share that they don't have a lot of client interest. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't want to move forward with,
Mhm.
they know that there's a little bit, if you build it, they will come with this, and know that the inertia of the industry is going to be carrying this. I think in many of the situations, though, it's that they're not calling on the CNI business right now that would be probably using it. But I think there is a use case for small business. I think we just need to find it. And there's not enough. I don't think there's enough smaller financial institutions that have products out there, as you suggested,
Yeah.
that are catering to those businesses yet.
Or to be honest with you, larger financial institutions, again,
Sure.
they're focused on the large corporate side. That's where the elephants are. You
Right.
can put some
Yep.
numbers on that way.
For
But
sure.
I've got a small business account, and I won't say with whom, but I am not able to initiate real-time payments. I would
Yeah.
love to. And it might also be a matter of asking the right questions. You and I both have experience in the treasury management world.
Sure.
When you're talking to a client, they're not necessarily going to say, "Hey, can you give me RTP network or FedNow or whatever?" They
Exactly.
might say, "I've heard about this thing," but what they're going to say is, "I have a problem. I'm paying my suppliers, but things are getting lost on the way. Sometimes we have to go back and forth to correct exceptions. Things like the certainty. Oh, by the way, the payment's been made. I can show you how it's paid. Oh, that's where it is." Those kind
Very
of things
good point.
make a difference. And that's one thing I mentioned. I'm working with, some students groups. A number of them have done work on things like, small business accounts payable, how folks, companies want to use real-time payments. And that's the kind of things they're seeing is, you got to talk about what they're trying to do with their business. It's not just, I want to make a payment. And so I
That's
think that part of it is you have to be listening to what your customers are saying in a way that you can translate it into, this is how I can fix that problem for you.
that's a very good point. So it's a market problem you're trying to solve, and the
Yeah.
customer will feed that to you. You
Yes.
just got to listen for it. Thanks for tuning into this episode of In the DeNovo. For more content like the video we shared today, check out our website at denovotreasury.com and our YouTube channel at DeNovo Treasury. Thanks, and see you next time.